We all agreed it's best if you don't come to Thanksgiving. The text read. For a second, I thought it was a mistake. A joke, maybe. But it wasn't. My own mother had sent it, and just like that, I went from preparing my famous sweet potato casserole to staring blankly at my phone, uninvited, from the one day that used to mean everything to me. But if they thought pushing me away would keep their little secrets buried, they were about to learn just how much I had given and what I could take back. Before we dive deeper, what would you do if your own mother texted you not to come home for Thanksgiving? Let us know in the comments, like if you've ever felt unwanted. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories that hit where it hurts. Growing up, Thanksgiving was sacred in our house. Not because we were particularly religious or traditional, but because it was the one day of the year where everyone was expected to show up. No excuses, no drama, just food laughter and family stories told over and over again until we knew them by heart. And I was the one who made sure it stayed that way. My name is Emily. I'm a 32-year-old elementary school teacher in upstate New York, and if there's one thing I've always believed in, it's showing up for the people you love, even when they don't always do the same for you. After Dad passed away 5 years ago, something shifted in my family. He had been the glue holding us together, the one who made the dumb jokes during dinner, and insisted on everyone saying one thing they were grateful for before digging in. Without him, the house felt colder, figuratively and literally. Bills piled up, emotions got raw, and slowly, everyone started drifting in their own directions. Everyone except me. I stayed close. I took over little things Dad used to do, like fixing the leaky sink in Mom's kitchen, or showing up early on holidays to help with cooking. I never married, never moved far, never said no when they asked for help. Especially Mom. She wasn't handling the finances well after Dad died. I quietly started sending her money every month, never asking for anything in return. At first, it was just to cover the heating bill that winter, then the groceries, then part of the mortgage. Before long, I was sending a quarter of my paycheck every month straight into an account we both had access to, just to make sure she didn't lose the house. No one knew. Not even my younger sister, Amanda. Amanda was always the golden girl. Beautiful, ambitious, and chronically self-absorbed. She moved to the city, married rich, and somehow still managed to be the victim in every family story. We were opposites in every sense. Where I was dependable, she was dramatic. Where I stayed rooted, she flitted between jobs and relationships like they were seasonal trends. And yet she was Mom's favorite, always had been. Every Thanksgiving, she would waltz in an hour late with overpriced wine and some new boyfriend in tow. Everyone would fuss over her hair, her clothes, her lifestyle. Meanwhile, I was the one in the kitchen, basting the turkey, setting the table, and making sure there was enough food for everyone. I never complained, not once. Because deep down, I believed that family mattered more than fairness. That if I kept showing up year after year, eventually someone would notice. That maybe they'd thank me for it. I was wrong. The week before Thanksgiving, I was walking out of my classroom, arms full of glitter-covered turkey drawings when my phone buzzed. It was a group text from Mom. We all agreed it's best if you don't come to Thanksgiving this year. Amanda doesn't want any drama, and we want to keep things peaceful. No explanation. No conversation. Just that. I stood frozen in the school parking lot, rereading the message over and over. My face burned with humiliation. Teachers and kids walked past, oblivious to the earthquake that had just cracked open inside me. What drama. What peace. I hadn't argued with anyone. I hadn't even seen Amanda in months. The last time we spoke, she made some snide comment about how I was still playing the martyr, and I let it slide like always. But this was different. They didn't just forget to invite me. They decided I shouldn't come. They had a meeting, a conversation, a group decision, and no one thought to call me. No one thought I deserved a voice in that room. For the first time, I wasn't just the invisible helper. I was a problem to be erased from the holiday photo. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the string lights I'd put up in hopes of making the place feel festive. I thought about all the meals I'd cooked, all the bills I'd paid, all the times I'd canceled plans to be there for them. I thought about how he'd always made sure I felt seen, valued. What would he say if he knew how they were treating me now? And then, for the first time in years, I stopped crying and started thinking. Really thinking. Because if they didn't want me at the table I helped keep standing, maybe it was time I let the whole house fall. The next morning, I woke up hoping that maybe the text had been some weird misunderstanding. That maybe Mom would call, say she didn't mean it, that Amanda had overreacted, and it had all been blown out of proportion. But there was nothing. No text, no call, no apology. Instead, I got a string of cheery photos in the group chat. Amanda and her husband smiling in front of a fireplace, Mom holding a pie. Even my cousin Lauren chiming in with a "can't wait to see everyone next week." I didn't reply. I couldn't. I felt like a ghost in my own life, watching a family I had poured everything into simply erase me like I'd never mattered. The silence wasn't just painful, it was a choice. They weren't waiting for me to explain or defend myself. They had already moved on. I tried to keep myself busy. Work, laundry, Thanksgiving lesson plans for my second graders. But the truth kept slicing through everything I did. They didn't want me there. And worse, they weren't even trying to hide it. By Tuesday, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, I finally cracked. I called Mom. She answered on the third ring. "Hey, Em," she said like everything was normal. "Hey," I replied, my voice tight. "Got your text." She sighed. "Emily, don't make this harder than it has to be." I blinked. "Make what harder?" "Being banned from Thanksgiving. Nobody's banning you," she said, defensive now. "We just thought it might be better this year if we avoided any tension." Tension. From what me bringing mashed potatoes and trying not to cry while Amanda brags about her spa membership. There was silence. Then, you know how Amanda gets. She didn't want any negativity. She just wants one peaceful holiday. I laughed bitterly. "So, I'm the negativity now." "It's not personal," she said, which only made it worse. "You're just intense sometimes. You take things so seriously. You hold on to stuff. Like how I've been paying your mortgage for the past 3 years." Dead silence. "Yeah," I said, my voice sharper now. "Surprise. That account you've been getting help from every month. That's me, Mom. That's my money. Not some magical solution that falls from the sky." Her voice dropped. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I thought helping you meant something. I didn't want credit. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. More silence. Then, you didn't have to do that. No, I said I didn't, but I did anyway, because I thought this family was worth sacrificing for. I thought you cared. We do care, Emily, she said quietly. But Amanda said, I don't care what Amanda said, I snapped. What about what I say? And that was the moment I realized the truth. It didn't matter what I said. It never had. Amanda threw a fit, and the whole family scrambled to make her comfortable. I quietly carried the weight for years, and they never even noticed when I started to collapse under it. They didn't want peace. They wanted convenience. And I had become inconvenient. When I hung up, I didn't cry. Not this time. I sat on my couch for a long time staring at nothing. My hands were clenched in my lap, my jaw tight. And slowly, an idea began to form. For years, I'd told myself that keeping the peace was more important than speaking up. That family came first. That love meant giving without asking for anything in return. But what if I stopped giving? What if I finally let them feel the weight I'd been carrying alone? I opened my laptop and logged into the shared banking account I had with Mom, the same one she used to pay the mortgage. I looked at the transaction history, monthly deposits from me, automatic withdrawals to the lender. There was enough left for maybe one more payment. I clicked Close Account. A confirmation screen popped up. My finger hovered over the mouse. This wasn't revenge. Not really. It was reality finally catching up. Click, account closed. The next morning, I got a message from the bank, loan payment rejected due to insufficient funds. Followed by another. From the mortgage company, urgent payment failure. Immediate action required. And then came the texts. Mom, Emily, did something happen to the account? I just got a notice the mortgage didn't go through. Please call me. Amanda. Seriously. You're sabotaging Mom now? How petty can you be? I didn't reply. Not yet. Because for the first time in years, they were finally realizing that I wasn't just background noise in their lives. I was the reason they had a roof over their heads. And now that roof was starting to crack. Mom didn't call. She showed up. Thursday morning, while most families were setting turkeys in the oven and pulling out dusty boxes of fine china, I heard a knock on my apartment door. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to look through the peephole. It was her. I opened the door, slow and cautious. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Her makeup was undone, and there was a deep crease between her brows. Emily, she said, voice trembling, we need to talk. I stepped aside without a word. She sat on the edge of my couch like it was foreign territory. Her fingers twisted together, and her lap knuckles pale. The mortgage, she started. They called me this morning. Said we missed a payment. That we're in default. I didn't know what was happening. Then I checked the account, and I nodded. I closed it. She blinked. Why would you do that? Because I was done paying for a family that doesn't want me in it. That stung. I saw it in her face. But she didn't deny it. Emily, honey, you've always been dramatic. No, I cut in. I've always been quiet. There's a difference. She looked away. Do you know what it felt like to get that text? To be told not to come, to see pictures of everyone smiling like I never existed? Amanda thought. I don't care what Amanda thought. I care what you thought, what you chose. She didn't have an answer. I have carried this family on my back for years, I said, voice rising. Paid bills, skipped vacations, stayed in a job I hated because it was stable. And the one time I need to feel like I belong, you let her kick me out like garbage. Mom covered her face with her hands. I didn't know if she was crying. I didn't care. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was trying to make her see. And then she said it. We thought we were doing what was best. I laughed. Bitter, broken. For who? The silence stretched. Amanda and Rick are scrambling, she finally said. They were going to refinance the house to help cover the loss, but their credit's a mess. We might lose it, Emily. I shrugged. I did what you asked. I stayed away. You're punishing all of us. I stood up. No, I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference. She left not long after that. No hug, no apology. That night, I made dinner, just for me. I lit candles, turned on music, set out my grandmother's old china, and I ate in peace for the first Thanksgiving in years. The next morning, the fallout began. Amanda posted a crying selfie on Facebook with a long caption about being betrayed by family and how some people only help so they can hold it over you. Comments poured in, sympathy, outrage, but a few people asked questions. Wait, didn't Emily help pay for the house? Didn't she get disinvited to Thanksgiving? I didn't comment. I didn't need to. Because truth has a way of slipping through even when people try to bury it. That weekend, Mom texted again. They might foreclose. I don't know what to do. Amanda won't stop crying. Rick says he's not bailing anyone out. Please, Emily, we need your help. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered. Then I typed, I love you, Mom. But I won't sacrifice myself for people who don't respect me. I hope you find peace. Truly. I hit send. No reply. 3 days later, I got a letter in the mail from my students. A stack of crayon-drawn cards. Thank you, Miss Emily, with turkeys and hearts and smiley faces. One wrote, I'm thankful you always listen to me. Another said, you're like a mom to our whole class. I cried reading those. Not because I was sad, but because I finally understood. The family I built, the people who saw me, valued me, respected me. They weren't always the ones who shared my blood. They were the ones who showed up. And this year, that was enough. It was the Tuesday after Thanksgiving when Amanda called me. Not texted. Not posted online. She actually picked up the phone and dialed. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, she called again. And again. By the fourth time, I picked up. What do you want? I asked. I didn't even try to hide the edge in my voice. She was sobbing. We got the final notice. The foreclosure. They're going to auction the house next month. Mom's a wreck. Rick left. He said he's not staying for a sinking ship. I didn't say anything. Emily, please, she said. I know I was wrong. I was jealous. Okay? You were always the one who had it together, the one everyone trusted. And I hated that. I'm sorry. Silence stretched between us. Then I asked, what do you actually want from me? Help us save the house? Just a little. Enough to get current. You can afford it. I know you can. I took a breath. I could help, but I won't. Why not? She choked. Because I finally learned that loving someone doesn't mean destroying yourself for them. I loved you, Amanda. I still do, somewhere deep down. But I won't be your lifeline anymore. She hung up on me. I didn't cry. Instead, I called Ms. Ramirez, a fellow teacher, who'd been struggling to afford a place to live after her divorce. I told her my second bedroom was open, if she wanted to stay a while. She moved in by the end of the week. We cooked dinners together, shared stories, laughed. Meanwhile, the news spread. Amanda tried to run a GoFundMe. But people weren't as sympathetic as she expected. Screenshots of her Facebook posts circulated. Old friends started unfollowing. Even family members distanced themselves. Turns out, people notice more than you think. And the final twist, one of my students' parents was a local journalist. She heard part of the story through her daughter and reached out to me, curious about the teacher who was kicked out by her own family but still gave back. I told her the truth, not to shame anyone, just the facts. A month later, a piece ran in the Sunday paper. The real meaning of Thanksgiving one teacher's cut stands in for self-respect. My school principal read it, so did the superintendent. And suddenly the woman who'd spent years being invisible was getting emails from organizations asking her to speak at events, to share her story, to inspire. Not because I wanted fame, but because I had finally chosen me. And that choice, that was the real revenge. Not spite, not cruelty. Just walking away from people who never deserved my kindness and watching them finally face the cost of what they threw away. Emily didn't hear from her family again. Not for a long time. But oddly, she didn't feel the gaping emptiness she'd feared. The silence was a relief, a space to finally breathe, to listen to her own voice without judgment or guilt. Her small apartment, once a lonely refuge, now pulsed with life and laughter. On Thanksgiving, Emily prepared a modest meal stuffing sweet potatoes and the same pecan pie recipe her dad used to love. But instead of silence, the room was filled with friends, former students who had grown up and remembered her kindness, co-workers who admired her strength, and neighbors she'd helped over the years. They brought dishes, stories, and warmth. No one was obligated to be there. They came because they wanted to. As they went around the table, sharing what they were thankful for, someone raised a toast to Emily. To the woman who gave more than she ever received, and still somehow had enough left to give. Her eyes filled with tears, not from pain, but from peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop begging for love in places where it's conditional. Emily realized that family isn't about shared blood. It's about shared heart. And she'd found hers right here. Outside, the city buzzed and blinked indifferent to her story. But inside that little apartment, a new tradition was born, one built on gratitude, truth, and the kind of love that never needs to be earned.